Going out there, folks. Good afternoon. It is 12:12 p.m. California time here on this Sunday, October 5th, 2025 date. Hope everyone's having a good weekend out there so far. Latest activity here on the earthquake 3D globe shows a 2.4 across Alaska, and also some movement there in Southern California with a recent 2.2. Looks like we got a little swarm going on here near the Big Bear City area of Southern California that sits just north here of the San Andreas Fault in a zone here where pressurization is quite great. Majority of the times here when things are locked and loaded, we'll see that strain transfer offward of the plate boundary to where we're seeing the activity right now. We got a little decent swarm going on here, about almost 20 earthquakes, with the latest there being a 2.3. Let's see what we got. Last night, I know we had a 3.5 came in, but I believe they downgraded that. No? Well, it looks like there was another 3.5 early this morning around 3 o'clock or so. So a number of threes out here. Started off somewhat with a 3.3 late last night, but let me see what we got out here. Really nothing in the last 7 days. Only a couple smaller quakes there in the last 30 days. So this is definitely what you would call a swarm, with really no main quake out here, because so far the 3.5, the largest event, is in the mix of all the magnitudes and the multitude of quakes out here. So really no main quake yet, but that tells me right there that we need to watch the San Andreas Fault. Not only because this is lighting up right now here, but because we have other earthquake activity regionally starting to light up across the southern portion of the state of California here. That strain out there along the San Andreas Fault is no joke. It's been building up for quite a while, folks. I want to show you just a little image here of the amount of time that has passed since we've seen a large rupture along the San Andreas Fault. Okay, so 1906, right? Well, that's only been 119 years there for the northern branch of the San Andreas Fault. The southern branch here, 168 needs to be down here. I just had to modify this a little bit because there were some wrong numbers, but 168 years since this portion here of the San Andreas Fault, the southern branch. Not in its entirety, though. Now, if you notice here, there's a little darker colored portion down here of the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. This is the extreme southern portion that runs down to the Salton Sea area. That did not rupture back when the 1857 earthquake struck, the M7.9, which is 168 years ago. This is a portion of the southern branch, but in its entirety did not take the rest with it. So this area here is way overdue, and even when you think about the years here that have passed since the 1857 earthquake, well, that it tells us right there that the next one will probably it'll be the entirety out here of the southern branch, resulting into an 8.1, and that's the given magnitude out there. That's very possible for the entirety of the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. Now, the Parkfield section up here in the green, that has regular intervals of earthquakes every 20 to 22 years of a 6.0 magnitude, and the last one was back in 2004. So we're even due right there for this one. Now, the concerning aspect of everything here is that the next 6-pointer on the Parkfield section, on the green one here, could trigger the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault here. Good possibility with the amount of time that has been passed out here since the last rupture of the southern branch. Average intervals, I believe, run 150 years or so for the San Andreas Fault here, and we're at 168 and then 300 down here. So it's like there's so much you can compare it to, but man, it's scary when you see this earthquake activity happening around it. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's California, they get threes all the time. You're right. You are absolutely right. And last year we had a lot of fours out here, more so since the mid-'80s. We've had so many fours last year that it was an unprecedented amount up till about the 85, 86 period. Even Dr. Lucy Jones chatted about it. So the importance of all this right now is to just be vigilant because of, guess what? Strain that's been building up in that time period since the last big rupture out here. 300 years for this little southern segment here It runs roughly, right about here, I would say. Right about here down southward is the portion that did not rupture back when that 7.9 struck there in the 1857 earthquake. A lot of time has passed out here, folks, so just be on guard. It's very important to study our past, because otherwise we could easily get complacent and repeat here in near term. As far as our future quake goes, you don't want to be caught off guard. I'm sure a lot of people were caught off guard during that M7.9 there, but things were not built up like they are right now. The infrastructure was nowhere near where we're at right now. Population density has exploded out here. It's crazy. So yeah, with this activity lighting up out here, you got a little triangle section out here, and you know for sure that's putting the strain out here on the San Andreas Fault, the southern section specifically. So just be on guard. That's nothing big right now. Yes, we see threes out here, but one of these days it's going to pop out here, and I don't think it's going to be much longer. Too much time has passed out here, folks. So let me see here. It looks like we did have one directly on the southern branch here of the San Andreas Fault, the one that is 300 years since the last big event. That was a 2.5 this morning. So you see what I'm getting at here? With all this activity happening around it, and then some showing signs here on the San Andreas Fault itself. That was 2.5 at 3:34 in the morning. That's why I say the strain is really building up out here, and we're starting to see little signs of it cracking, so to speak. We just got to be on guard, because an 8.1 earthquake will dampen somebody's day out. Well, millions of people will be affected, and not good. An 8.1 more than likely will fill it up here in Northern California as well, but the brunt of it will be down in Southern California. But that's a little bit of an uptick going on there. We got 7 earthquakes there above the 2.5 level. We got 1, 2, 3 pointers, or at least above 3, and then 4 2.5 or so. I would say that's an uptick. Southern California was pretty quiet. Now we're starting to get that adjustment going on here, folks. So just be on guard. Again, stay vigilant and have an earthquake plan. Got to have an earthquake plan out here in California, or wherever there is potentially, earthquake potential. That's it. The entirety of California and the West Coast, Yeah. All right, let's see. Let's go ahead and move on past here. We'll definitely keep an eye on that, because that's a decent amount of earthquake activity since last night there. Let's see here. There's one earthquake, right? There's been a decent amount of earthquake activity here along the creeping section of the San Andreas Fault, skipping over the Parkfield section. Now, this is the locked area right here, right? And occasionally we do get some earthquakes on it. There's actually more earthquake activity on that southern portion there from that 2.5. Look at that. There was actually 3 earthquakes there overnight, along with these other events all around it. That was directly right on the San Andreas Fault there, that northern section of the area that has not had any rupture in 300 years. Extreme southern portion there that I showed you guys on this map. That's pretty crazy. So just kind of watching that. Let's see. But the Parkfield section, as I mentioned, is locked. We've been getting some earthquake activity here along the creeping section of the San Andreas Fault. It's an area of the fault, or the plate boundary here, where it really doesn't lock up and load enough strain for a big earthquake. It just kind of creeps along there. But it's been getting closer to the Parkfield section, and 2004, it comes around the time period of where we should be seeing a big event take place here. 2004, of course, the last one. Every 20 to 22 years is the regular intervals of 6-pointers on that area of the San Andreas Fault. Also, some movement up there in Pacifica from yesterday. Nothing new to report today across the Bay Area. It looks pretty quiet. All the I guess excitement is down here across Southern California for now. One earthquake on the Cascadia subduction zone late last night. That's directly on the plate boundary. That's where the Gorda plate here. This is, if you want to call it the Juan de Fuca plate as a whole, go for it. But technically, there's 3 separate plates. Juan de Fuca, the bigger of the 3, the Explorer plate up north, and this is the Gorda plate. That is at the Gorda Plate and the North American Plate boundary, right as the plate begins to subduct there, right at the interface. So that, I wonder if tremor activity is going to be elevated today up there. More than likely, we'll probably see some tremor counts when we pull up the map later this evening. It doesn't come out until about 7 or so. While I'm on that topic, the tremor map here, this is slow slip events there into the Cascadia subduction zone. The majority of these over the last week have been up in the Washington area. Really not a whole lot down there across Northern California. Now, more than likely with that earthquake showing up there last night, I'm betting that we'll see tremor counts underneath this area tonight. We'll see when we check back on it. But this is not volcanic tremor. It's not... it's just slow slip events that gets detected there into the deeper areas of the Cascadia below the locked area. The locked area sits upstream, right? And just offshore. A little bit there under this region there of the coast ranges, but it's a good portion there that locks and loads and is very capable of producing a 9.0 or greater earthquake. And I feel we're getting close. You know, that's another deal. We could pull up maps and graphs here, and I've done that quite a bit. But we'll do that another time here. But I'm kind of curious about the tremor counts there. We'll check later on. All right, Washington area. Let's see what we got. A couple on the Seattle fault up there. Look at that. 2 earthquakes this morning, 1.6 and a 1.5. Now, that's a very dangerous fault system that runs underneath Seattle. Directly underneath downtown Seattle area that's capable of a 7.5, and they believe ruptures every couple thousands of years or so, and that's from what I can find. That was when the last one happened out there, a couple thousands of years ago. So we could be entering into a time period there where that may pop as well. It's been getting a little bit of earthquake activity on it in the last few months. Mount Rainier up here, we got one earthquake from yesterday. Mount St. Helens, couple there from last night. I will just double check those as far as the seismograph stations go. Excuse me. All right, let's go over here and check this real quick. See what we have. Yeah, still a little bit of earthquake activity there. Looks like there's been a little bit of adjustment on the amplitude reading here. It almost looks like they've increased it a little bit, which would pick up some of the smaller quakes. There's another one right there. But, you know, these earthquakes here are very small, and even from yesterday, there was a little 0.2 at 1446, right? So we can go back and check 1446. A little 0.2, 1446 would be maybe this here or that one. Not this one, because that's at 1600. But the thing is, you know, when they pick out one out of 20 or 30 earthquakes that are showing up here, you know that these are probably legit earthquakes. I don't believe for a second now that these are just ice quakes or rockfall. I get it. There's probably rock falls and stuff like that happening, but this is all still part of the earthquake swarm that's been going on since July. That's at Mount Rainier. Now, Mount St. Helens as well has seen its own earthquake sequence there. Let's see what this looks like today. See, there's still some earthquake activity out there. All these little ones are earthquakes because I've seen them count those in the past as earthquakes. Okay, so we had 2 from yesterday, a little 0.1 negative. We'll go for this one there at 2331. 2331 would be that one. That's 23, yeah, that would definitely be it. Little 0.1. So that's not even a 1 magnitude, but that, you know, there's still some small microquake activity occurring up there. See all those little ones? That's a 0.1. Just, you know, not even a 1 magnitude, but a 0.1. That's means that there's still earthquake activity occurring, but in the smaller nature. This one almost looks the same size as this one right here. This one a little bit bigger than that one. So the point is here that there's still earthquake activity occurring. Very small earthquakes, but these may be somewhat deep underneath the area. This little 0.1 showed up about 3.5 miles underneath this area, getting down there towards the where the magma chamber is at. So a little bit of earthquake activity, and it's been a couple volcanoes out there. Mount Rainier, Mount St. Helens, even down there across Mount Hood has seen a little bit of earthquake activity in the last couple months. Just kind of popped up here out of the blue. Only a handful being reported, but similar to Mount St. Helens, they got these little smaller quakes showing up that's not being reported here. See all those? I know the lines are kind of off here. They definitely, I wonder if there's wind up there. I don't think there's wind, but that looks like they turned up the amplitude here, but now it's overblown. So I really can't see if anything's showing up. There's a couple in there, but as you can see, similar to Mount St. Helens, there's a small microquake activity occurring out there, and that's at Mount Hood. Oh man, we got another earthquake right now. 10 minutes ago up around the Garlock Fault shear zone. This has been definitely an area of interest here because I do feel like when strain is at maximum potential here along the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault, it pushes up inland and adjusts this shear zone. And that shear zone right here, the Garlock Fault shear zone, is a major fault capable of producing its own large earthquake, but I do think there is a relationship between these two more than what we're led to believe. This area last year and this year has seen hundreds and hundreds of earthquakes, specifically right here on this segment. Let me see what we got in the last 30 days. And that's still a little bit, 29 earthquakes there. But if we were to go back and search the catalog out here, when we had all those fours from last year, remember how I said we've seen more 4.0 earthquakes across Southern California than at any time since the mid-'80s? This area was swarming like crazy last year, and it still got some periodic swarming going on in just specifically in this area. I don't know, it almost looks like this is a fracture boundary here in the middle of the Garlock Fault shear zone. It just looks a little odd. Whatever's going on is directly underneath this area, about 3 miles or so, and I purely believe it's tectonic stress that's associated with the plate boundary, of course, the San Andreas Fault. So who knows, folks? Today could be the day. It may not be so lucky today. It could be tomorrow. It could be next week. It could be next year. All I know is I don't see us going down the road another 10, 15 years or so. I do believe this is coming up pretty soon as far as a big event goes. All right, so Yellowstone National Park, nothing going on there. One more earthquake up in Spencer, Idaho. That's been an area of swarming here recently itself. A couple different faults here leading up to Yellowstone showing quite a bit of earthquake activity. I'm sure that 3.1 showed up quite nicely there on the Yellowstone graph, so we'll go double check that, see what we have on this Sunday. The weekend goes by awfully quick, doesn't it? So there's the 3-pointer that stirred up this morning. It does look like there was a number of other earthquakes in there as well. Probably in the 2 range is what I'm guessing, just looking at the graphs. But notice here, they only reported one earthquake here, 3.1 at 2:25 in the morning. But obviously there was more that followed it. There's one there right after it, behind this one. You can see it back there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more earthquakes that should have been added here on the map following that 3-pointer. Smaller. Those are obviously smaller. These are probably, I'm sure that's got to be a 2 at least here. Maybe some of these other ones under a 2 magnitude, but just kind of rocking and rolling out here along the western portion of the states. It's all got to do with the plate boundary. Oil fields out there in Texas, just nothing new. It happens. It's earthquake country out in Texas. Who would have thought? Some earthquakes there from last night up in the New York area, but those are very small earthquakes. All right, so worldwide activity, man, still rocking and rolling out here. Got a lot of newer movement up north of Iceland here. 5.2 and a couple other 4s stirring up. It's been quite active up here in the last 30 days. A bunch of movement. You can barely see the other areas up north here that kind of cut off, but definitely kicking up a little bit. I think Missy Mimi's is getting me sick now. I was trying to hold off on it. Trying to hold off. I'm going to definitely load up on my healing meds here. Let's see. All right. As far as today goes, along the Kurokam-Chatka Trench, I'll zoom in here a little bit closer. We've got a number of earthquakes here, it looks like, this morning. In fact, there's one from last night. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pointers from last night. They're along the Kurokam-Chatka Trench. That's picking back up again here. It almost seems like pressure is great out here across both sides of the Pacific right now. Like something big needs to happen to alleviate all this stress and strain that's going on out here. Obviously, earthquakes, right? They relieve stress to an extent, but these 5-pointers here, when they continue like that, tells me that maybe we're not quite done with the stress relieving out here, because you have to have a massive amount of 5-pointers to relieve a strain of a 9-pointer out here, and a certain amount of 8-pointers to relieve a strain of a 9-pointer. That's why I still think there may be something bigger brewing out here, whether it's the remainder of the Kamchatka Trench or maybe it's the west coast, the Cascadia. All I know is that I'm getting this feeling of something needs to take place out here on either side. Similar to what we've seen before that 9.1 happened in Japan, 2011. Getting a little bit of those same vibes going on here. A couple more earthquakes up along the Aleutian Trench there. One there at 2 o'clock in the morning, a 4.2. Let's see here. I'm going to go switch over to the globe here real quick, see what we got in this area of the Philippines. It does look like, was there another earthquake down here on the Manila Trench? It looks like there was maybe another earthquake down here. I was covering this last night because it's got potential to produce a megaquake out here. And historically, there really hasn't been any documented large megaquake activity out here. So that tells me that it's been a long, long time. But it does have the potential along that subduction, this trench zone here, the Manila Trench. That's where 5.0 struck there yesterday. And it does look like maybe there was another earthquake further south on the southern end right there. It's going to be this area. Some further activity way inland here, away from the plate boundary. That's a 4.8 in Vietnam. It's a little odd. 6 miles deep underneath this area. Historically, looking at the region, let's see here. You know, they're a ways away from the plate boundary. And far as recorded earthquakes go, at least according here to the USGS map, that's like literally the first earthquake. Is that right? You know, and that's just what the USGS has documented here. That's why I've seen it. It's kind of sticking out there. It's not normal to see that type of activity away from the plate boundary well inland. Doesn't mean that they haven't had earthquakes ever, but according to the USGS map here from 1900 2015, there's been no recorded events here of 4.5 or above. So that would mark this quake being the first one in that time period. So again, there's probably been some earthquake activity out here. You got mountains and whatnot building up out here, so there's got to be some type of stress and strain. But that's an odd one with everything going on around here, with the more recent earthquake down south here along the Manila Trench. Now we got this event. Yeah, there's something brewing out here. 5.2 coming into the Papua New Guinea area right now as we speak. Let's see, USGS not picking up on that. Looks like it's going to be up here north of Solomon Sea or maybe the Bismarck Sea area. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be up here along the plate boundary. So that 5-pointer follows 4.9 in the area from last night. Ah, man, just look at this crazy amount of earthquake activity here. It makes me feel like I have too much, it almost feels like I have a couple days worth of accumulation of earthquakes here on the map, but it's set here for, it is set for 24 hours. Let me see here, maybe right about there, I'm thinking. That's right at the 24-hour line, so that's just a lot of earthquake activity here. Bunch of movement. New Zealand down there still looks like they picked up a couple more threes across the area. It's been holding off on any big earthquake activity, but I don't know for how much longer. Definitely got some movement and adjustment going on down there. South America, let's see, there's a 4-pointer around the Peru area, it looks like, not showing up here, but still got some movement out there. So this earthquake from yesterday, that was a 4.9. So yeah, technically I've got under 24 hours here. There we go. 1350, so that's at 1:30 and an hour from my time period. So technically I had the right time up here on the globe. It just looks like a tremendous amount of earthquake activity for the last 24 hours out here. Mediterranean region here, just some twos and whatnot going on there. I would definitely be on guard. It feels like there's a bigger event about ready to take place out here with this elevated movement. This region here pretty quiet right now. Watch, I could mark up this globe with a whole bunch of X's on areas to watch, but right now I just think we need to be on guard. Anywhere there's big earthquake potential out here today. California specifically for one. Let's see if there's been anything else here. Looks like there's, well, that was a 1.0 up there, 2.3, so nothing new yet. I do have a number of seismograph stations there that we're monitoring that can pick up any activity there. Parkfield, and I'll probably keep it like that there. All right. Okay, so let's go check out space weather activity real quick, see if there's anything happening on the sun here. Got a coronal hole number 84 south pointing position here on the sun. Also another one 85 coming into view. This is the old image. This almost looks like a bird or something. I don't know why it's stuck on that, but if you go to the official SDO site, they have some issues going on with their hardware, so that's why they haven't been able to update some of the imagery. But Kevin's getting some imagery that's updated. This is still technically behind because we're getting close here to the October 6th UTC time, which we're almost in here in a few hours. So that's behind a little bit. But looking at the magnetogram image here of what we have for the latest, it does show 4236 over here, capable of producing some M flares. It may pop off an X flare, I don't know. Highly unlikely, but that's about the only one that I see of any decent complexity here in terms of the magnetic structure that's capable of producing, a stronger flare. All these other ones up here, fairly minimal. Flaring activity right now just on the low C flare category. 99% chancer for C flare, M flare at 45, X flare around 10% chance or so. We'll keep that up like that for now until something changes out here. There's really not a whole lot coming around the bend as far as the eastern limb for now. Maybe a G1 class storm coming up on the 7th. I'm guessing that's due to some high-speed solar wind stream. That's not showing it. This is for tomorrow night, but let's check out any close approach asteroids here. See if there's anything coming close here. There was a super close one here a couple days ago. That one's under 1 million miles, but even so, that's fairly safe. All these are newly discovered, except for this one. That was 2018 when it was picked up. A building site. I would hope they would monitor that one years prior. 270-foot building size asteroid, but that's over 3 million miles away, so that is good. We'll keep checking back on that. As far as any severe weather today goes, got a little thin marginal risk category here for looks like a little bit of wind. So if you got some wind chimes out there, they might be a little bit noisy today around the beautiful state of Kansas, up into the Iowa area, portions of Nebraska in there as well. So aside from that, let's see what we got here for the weather models. I know there's a lot of colder air coming in here. Check this out. Right now it's cooking. I see a lot of people complaining, oh, it's hot, we're never going to get a fall. Well, there's definitely some cooler air coming in here. look as we head towards the middle of October. So a lot of colder air coming in. There's going to be some small cool pool areas like right up here. There's definitely some decent temperatures coming in. A little bit of taste of fall across the northern plains and whatnot. Even the northeast to get in on it. So it's coming. All these patterns here are mixing up. Look at the west coast even getting some. That's awesome. We got a taste of fall for everyone coming up. Just got to be a little patient out here. As far as any precipitation accumulation out here for rainfall, Pacific Northwest getting some rain. Not so much down here in California, but this is just one weather model showing precipitation accumulation amounts. As far as snowfall goes, a little bit up there across Montana, Idaho area. All right, folks, just be on guard, be prepared. Again, California, and I'm probably going to see a couple comments on here, and then maybe I'll just reply to them. Maybe I won't. I try to read all the comments I can here on the videos. Yes, California gets threes. Not all the time. They don't get threes all the time. And they don't get, a little sequence of events here around a major plate boundary that's capable of producing an 8.1 that has been strained for many, many, many years, right? It's not like we had a big event 20, 30, 80 years ago, even 100 years ago. This area down here is, 300 years. This little portion here. So this is very locked, very loaded. It did not go back in 1857 when that 7.9 struck, but it can. So that's why I'm believing here that the next rupture of the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault will be in its entirety, because this section did not go. This is already overdue. So it makes sense here to see the entirety go, which would be an 8.1. Not so concerned about the northern section because that was technically back in 1906. Seems like a long time ago, but it does have, I think, a couple more decades there to build up strain. But 168 years since the 1857 earthquake there. 300 years for this area. So, it's simple math, and it's got to do with time and strain, pressure, and man, is it strained out here. So just be on guard. Download that MyShake early alert notification system. I'm telling you guys, do it. Have a good one. We'll see you guys out here a little bit later on this evening, unless something major happens. Take care. Stay safe out there.